Hello there. Hey everybody, it's me, DJ the Brickwright, and I am back from Disneyland. I hope you guys enjoyed the little view of Disneyland that I gave you. It was a really fun video to make. Obviously, it was way more fun to be there. But I'm back, and I've got my full set of Jedi robes on that I'll probably have to get a little extra use out of because these aren't necessarily cheap. But thankfully, I've been saving up money for over a year to be able to go to Galaxy's Edge and get a whole bunch of stuff. And it's been awesome. And now I've got a full set of Jedi robes. I've got a bunch of lightsabers. It was really fun to go. And I want to specifically thank my wife, Ladima, and my sister Teddy for sending my brother-in-law Scott and myself to the happiest place on earth to visit the Star Wars land, which was so freaking cool. I should probably go into deeper detail on that kind of thing, but I think we'll go ahead and wait for another day. Between Christmas and New Year, my job gave everybody at the company a week off, which was a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Since my kids also had this time off, we decided to visit a bunch of places and go on some kind of outing every day. We ended up going to the Clark Planetarium here in Salt Lake, and then to the local fitness center pool, and then to the Hill Aerospace Museum in Roy, Utah, which is 45 minutes to an hour north of here. I used to go there as a kid with my dad, and he loved to show us one of the few remaining SR-71 Blackbirds, which is one of the main features there. What really intrigued me, though, was how many of the aircraft had extremely unique features and designs. You can look them up on the internet, of course, but if you don't know what you're looking for, then it's usually not going to come up in a search engine. And seeing them in person was a completely different and, dare I say, better experience than looking at pictures online. I saw a ton of unique aircraft that all deserve a Star Wars counterpart, but the one that really caught my eye was the Vought YA-7F. It really got my creative juices flowing, and after a follow-up combo with the F-16, I had a design in mind. And this is my Incom M36 I-Wing Interceptor. So, this ship started as a very simple brief. You know what? Before I get too far into this, I think I got to take this robe off. It's already getting hot. All right, there we go. That should work a little bit better. Now I just got to shake my arms out of these sleeves and let's get to work. So this ship started as a very simple brief. I wanted engines that were underneath the main body so that when you walk up to it, the engines were the first things that you see and the closest things to the ground, and then the rest of the ship would be on top of them. Also, I wanted them to be further back so that it almost looked like the ship was off balance when it was landed on the ground. And yes, that is a feature, not a bug. It's a little bit like the Ghost from Star Wars Rebels. When it lands, it looks extremely back heavy, like it shouldn't be able to land the way it does. In this case, though, it's a little front heavy. In the end, I pretty much got everything I wanted as far as this goes. Another reason to keep the engines back is so that I had a nice open area for the pilots to be able to get in. So I pretty much got what I wanted. I got everything I hoped. This ship was a little bit of a rare beast because instead of having a purpose for the ship from the very beginning, I designed it for looks first and then kind of went back and asked why would this ship exist in the Rebel fleet. I was actually inspired for the background of this fighter by E.C. Henry, one of my favorite YouTubers out there and ship designers. Many of yours too, I'm sure. And he had released a picture on his Instagram of a prototype interceptor that was made by the same shipbuilder that made the X-Wing. While he has yet to release a full video talking about the components and statistics, this was a great idea and it fit really nicely with the aesthetic of my ship. So I imagine that this ship was built by the Incom Corporation, which is the same company built X-Wings, as a potential A-Wing replacement for the Rebel fleet. While the X-Wing is a fantastic ship, it's expensive and has a lot of moving parts and systems that require a large amount of expertise to keep working. That's probably why, or at least one reason, why they have droid slots to help keep track of all those systems. We'll talk about another reason why they have droid slots in just a minute, though. In order to build a ship-to-ship interceptor using the Incom design language, I ended up going with similar but significantly different systems that were integrated into the I-Wing. I imagine the whole a whole platform of fighters was developed, fighters, bombers, interceptors, all based on the X-Wing, but only the X-Wing itself was ever put into production. The most obvious changes are the number of engines and laser cannons, but those are by far the simplest changes that I made. By cutting out a lot of the weight, fewer engines were needed to balance fuel efficiency and power, and the number of laser cannons was reduced, as was also their power, but this allowed for a more rapid-fire shooting that's typical in the Star Wars dogfights. Since the ship was mainly built to intercept other small craft, the torpedo launchers were removed to save weight. While some would consider this a bad idea, this freed up space in the airframe for specialized capacitors that allowed the main cannons to fire with less gaps between shots. Of course, there would inevitably be times where extra firepower would be needed, and so underneath the main fuselage, there are some hard points that can take a variety of attachments. In this case, I went with a 2-shot preloaded ion cannon. So you get 2 ion cannon shots and then the machine is spent because it's not directly hardwired into the system's main power generator. So right here I kind of represented the 2 shots with those 2 blue 1x1 trans clear bricks, or trans blue bricks, and then with the ion cannon in front of it. I also ended up changing the canopy, or the windscreen here, back to the old Star Wars version that came with the original X-Wing, Y-Wing, pretty much anything that was a Star Wars ship came with that. This was for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's cheaper. Number 2, I am rapidly running out of X-Wing canopies. However, I think that gives the ship a little bit more character by not having all exactly the same parts and windscreens, so that it looked like maybe a mashed together X-Wing. I wanted it to look like it was specifically designed this way. In my research, I also discovered that A-Wings, while having a very quick hyperdrive, could only jump 2 or 3 times because they had to store hyperspace coordinates and calculations in their main computers. After that, they would have to have new coordinates transferred to their ship from a support vessel. Y-Wings and X-Wings avoided this by having astromechs that could calculate the jumps on their own, but I really had a hard time putting an astromech on a ship that was meant to replace the A-Wing. It just felt wrong for some reason. So then, of course, while showing my wife the latest version of this ship, she had asked if it would be better to have a droid slot. I explained my reasons, and she said that she didn't mean an R2 unit, but something like a mouse droid. You know, I married an amazing woman. Not only does she tolerate my hobbies, but she encourages and improves everything I do. She is amazing. So I spent about an hour rebuilding the entire ship so that I could add a mouse droid connection spot to the top of the ship. And I ended up actually building an adapter so that you could replace any ship that used an astromech with a mouse droid attachment. I am going to put up instructions on Rebrickable for this little mouse droid adapter, because I think it'd be really funny to have such a tiny build amongst all my larger ones. I think that'd be funny for them to be looking through and see my Corellian freighter and my ATTC, and then a little mouse droid adapter slot. I think that'd be a funny thing for people to run across, but either way. Mentor TJ here from the future. So apparently, I forgot to explain what the mouse droid does on the ship. Let me explain. No, wait, there is too much. Let me sum up. So essentially, just like the A-Wing, this ship cannot make lots of jumps without having the jumps pre-recorded and in the main computer. However, they can expand that, and the mouse droids kind of act as like an expansion slot so that it can store multiple jumps in multiple routes and basically anything else that they want to store in the meantime, any intel or maps and things like that that the main drive couldn't fully accept or hold because of its storage limitations. So the mouse droid is an accessory. It cannot make the hyperspace calculations on its own, but it can store a significant number of them to prevent that reloading. So a little bit better than the A-Wing, but still has a similar issue. Now you know. Future TJ, out. In the final addition to this ship, after I had added that mouse droid, I started looking at landing gear, and in the end, I actually did. I'm still not 100% about them. They do the job, though. They fold up pretty far out of the way. Let's see. A little bit visible from the top, but not completely out of place. And honestly, having any landing gear at all is a big improvement for me, so I'm pretty happy that I actually have it. Of course, the ship itself will just land without the landing gear and just rest on those engines, but I'm trying my best to get better at landing gear, and so that's why I added them. All right, well, that's the build. If you guys are interested in instructions for this thing, let me know. I'd be happy to try and knock those out for you guys. I've noticed a little bit of a downturn on my rebrickable stuff, so I'm going to maybe not upload everything, spend a little more time on building, and only make instructions for things that you guys ask for. But I'm more than happy to do it. Even if only like 2 or 3 people ask for it, I'll probably jump on and do it because I like making people happy and sharing my builds. So until next time, I'm TJ the Brickwright, or TJ the Jedi. Play well. Bye.